Hi everyone, my name is Justin. Welcome to the channel where my son and I take a look at games, classic and modern, and give our thoughts on how these games appeal to different generations. Today we're taking a look at a more recent release, with the 2023 Sonic Superstars. Intended as a love letter to classic side-scrolling Sonic adventures, the question is, does it race out of the blocks or stumble and fall flat on its face? A throwback to classic Sonic games, Superstars follows in those footsteps by having only the smallest bit of a story. It boils down to Robotnik terrorizing the wildlife, turning them into various murder bots, and just being a general menace while trying to find a way to get Sonic. It follows our beloved Hedgehog and friends to gather the Chaos Emeralds, stop Eggman, and save the day. I would have liked a bit more story from a modern game, but let's be honest, if you're looking for a deep story from a Sonic the Hedgehog game, you really don't understand the game you've picked up. As a lifelong fan of Sonic, seeing the blue blur run around smashing and dashing, along with classic sidekicks like Tails and Knuckles, especially Knuckles, was a wonderful flashback to my childhood. Seeing Knuckles gliding and climbing with Tails flung overhead was just so satisfying.
Personally, I enjoyed playing as Sonic more, but it is really fun to fly around as Tails. Though for new players, I do recommend Amy as she makes platforming a bit more forgiving.
Why is that?
Well, she has a double jump ability. Also, she gets a giant hammer to whack things with. And who doesn't like giant hammers?
Your mom likes giant hammers.
Yeah, she does.
Your mom's violent hammer tendencies aside, why the developers decided on these four characters instead of adding in Shadow, Silver, Rouge, heck even Big, seems odd to me. For a game that really seems to push multiplayer and couch co-op, I feel like the game could have benefited from a larger roster, something akin to Mario Wonder. Sonic Superstars plays just like old Sonic, which was really great for me to see. There's just something about speeding along as the blue blur that cranks my 90s nostalgia up to 11. Unfortunately, the game just doesn't live up to those memories. Sonic Superstars is a game plagued with really questionable design choices. For a game that is all about speed and being in a hurry to get things done, it frequently seems to go out of its way to force you to go slow. From zones with large areas that are blacked out, say it's a small area of your sight, to enemies positioned along running routes that are there to force you to stop and either take them out or wait for their attack to go off. The mechanics of the game are very counterintuitive to the core concept.
The game does introduce some new elements, mainly the Chaos Emeralds. We won't go all into them, but there are a few things such as time slowdown to catch moving platforms, a mirror image that summons a legion of your character to do damage to everything on the screen, a giant vine because, well, climbing is Sonic's thing, I guess. These are some neat additions to the game, but they're very nichey and not something we found ourselves using very often.
Additionally, things like the Chaos missions that claim the actual emeralds are really weird. It's not like the old throwbacks where it was pinwheel or collect the little orbs that turn into the coins. These are almost like a Spider-Man style swing through the air to catch the emerald, and it just felt disjointed and didn't make a lot of sense. Now, the one nice thing about this is the game is not attuned to you needing these powers. As Vincent mentioned, these powers are very niche. They're not something that are required to beat the levels, they're not something that are required to complete the game. If they were, it would be a much bigger problem. But as it is, they're just kind of there and don't really make any sense. Graphically speaking, this game is a beautiful update to the classic Sonic formula. I just love the color palette. Everything is bright, vibrant, colorful, and just pops off the screen. The character designs and animations are wonderful. The characters are quirky and fun, from the characterization of Eggman to the beautiful animated cutscenes that feel right out of the old TV show. It's everything I wanted out of a Sonic game.
Music is loud and crazy and sounds like it was taken right out of a classic Sonic. Sound effects again are smooth and true to its inspiration. While it was good, none of the music really jumped out or stuck with me. Unlike classic Sonic themes, nothing here is going to stay with me and is ultimately forgettable.
From a generational standpoint, Sonic the Hedgehog was a much larger part of my childhood than even Mario was, and so I really wanted to love this game. Unfortunately, I just didn't. There are so many questionable design choices, the things that work against the very nature of what the game's trying to do, that I found myself more frustrated than amused throughout the course of my playthrough. There's a lot to this game that I do like. The animations, the color palette, the music, the sound effects were so good and so classic Sonic, but they're held back by bafflingly bad game design, frustrating levels, and the multiplayer is so slap hazard, just tossed on at the end, that it just weighs the game down tremendously. I really hope that Team Sonic and Sega look at this game for what I think it should be, which is a good launching pad to reinvigorate the franchise, bring in fans, and get people excited, and take this game and use it as a stepping stone to better the franchise and come out with hopefully a new game in a couple of years that's a little bit more refined. It just needs a little bit more time in the oven and a little bit more seasoning. But that's just my thoughts. What do you think, son?
Yeah, I agree with you, Dad. I mean, it's a thing. The game seems to lean into the multiplayer element, which is pretty terrible. Also, unfortunately for Sonic, it came out just the same time as Mario Wonder. Don't worry, guys, we'll get to that when I promise. This just means it's a flawed game that was put up against a much better throwback in Mario Wonder. And then there's the difficulty, which is frustratingly hard. Bosses are creative but difficult. Level design, as my dad mentioned, is cluttered with enemies that are right in your path. But because you're going so fast, it's difficult to avoid being hit unless you break your speed, which seems to be going against the heart of the game. So ultimately, it really just wasn't my thing.
Yeah, I get that, son. So let me ask you, what would you rate this game on a scale of 1 to 10?
Out of everything we just talked about, I'd say it's a 5 out of 10. The only reason I wouldn't go higher is it was just incredibly frustrating. It was almost like they were trying to make it impossible for kids my age.
Yeah, I can see that. I'd go a bit higher, probably a 6 out of 10. And I acknowledge this may be nostalgia talking, but it was really great to see Sonic and crew in beautiful side-scrolling action again. Frustrations aside, I did smile a lot at several moments, whether it was Knuckles gliding around, Sonic spin dashing, or Tails fluttering in the wind. It really brought me back to my childhood of sitting in my living room and just playing Sonic for hours on end. I just wish the rest of the game had lived up to the beautiful visuals. The controls are tight, and while the inertia of stopping to avoid hits is annoying, it does make sense. Ultimately, like you, I found myself more frustrated than amused. The choppy multiplayer actively disincentivizes playing with other people, and frequently having to stop and slow down works against the very nature of Sonic. While I'm all for a challenge and changing up the formula, regrettably, Sonic Superstars stumbles out of the blocks and just never recovers.
So that's our quick review and thoughts on Sonic Superstars. Thanks for stopping by, and if you liked our work, please support us with a like, comment, and subscribe. Did you enjoy the newest adventure of the Blue Blur? Comment below and let us know your thoughts. Thanks, everyone.